guilty in July of racketeering conspiracy and 11 other felony charges and murder in connection with the disappearance and presumed death of Jonathan Frazier, a friend of his deceased son, Caleb, who died in a vehicle accident that Frazier survived.
It was certainly an astounding verdict that came from the jury after listening to months and months of testimony and evidence.
Miskey was awaiting sentencing in January and was in detention at Honolulu's federal prison meanwhile. Honolulu EMS initially responded to a medical emergency call at 9:18 Sunday morning and was there nearly an hour. The medical examiner's staff, which handles death cases, took over after that. From the time of the original charges in 2019, Miskey faced assurance of dying in prison if convicted.
What the prosecution was doing is, we do know that they were seeking a death penalty early on in this case. And as it turns out, that's not what ended up happening. It's not what ended up going forward. However, when the jury found Michael Miskey guilty of all these different offenses, including murder and racketeering and conspiracy, it did require a life sentence.
So what happens next? A spokesperson for the federal court in Honolulu said it has not been determined how Miskey's death impacts other aspects of his case, such as more than $20 million in property and asset forfeitures, and for related party sentencing for a long list of co-defendants who mostly took plea deals or were separately convicted and are awaiting rulings on their own fate.
I think they're all going to be looking at the agreements that they made with the prosecution if they did make some sort of agreement. So if there was some sort of sentencing guideline that was going to be reduced because of their cooperation with the prosecution, that might need to be reevaluated.
Among the former co-defendants, Miskey's daughter-in-law, Delio Fabro Miskey, who had been Caleb Miskey's wife and mother of their only child. She was also involved in various roles at Michael Miskey's businesses that were targeted for seizure. She reached a plea deal and cooperation agreement with the feds last January and was awaiting sentencing herself. So what happens to tens of millions in seized assets that a jury determined to be ill-gotten gains?
I'm sure the prosecution is going to be trying very hard to make sure that the fact that the jury found Mr. Miskey guilty means that they can be able to still go forward and seize the assets. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of very strong arguments for why they can do something like that.
We've reached out to Miskey's attorneys and his family for comment and to hear more of what they know or want to know about the circumstances surrounding Miskey's death.
We would all expect that the Federal Detention Center would be operating all of their facilities at the highest levels, and that they would be taking care of all of their prisoners. I think what the attorneys for Mr. Miskey's estate will probably be asking about is just wanting to know what happened. They'd want to know if they'd want to make sure that there was a full-blown investigation into this, and then they'd be able to evaluate where things go from there.
Public record in a case involving a former Miskey associate turned witness describes retaliation and assault behind bars so extensive it required several moves and even solitary confinement. It's not known if Miskey was a victim or a suspected aggressor at the Honolulu facility.
Without question, prison is not a good place for people who've been involved in a lot of different criminal activities because they were part of a network outside. Once they're inside, that's a whole different ballgame. And there may be a lot of factors that I think the people in the facility have to really watch out for